Recently, Mario Wonder has been announced and it spawned tons of memes about Mario turning into an elephant because it seems rather unusual. But in my opinion, this whole sequence, which is the intro of the game, is way weirder, since we already kinda knew Mario is a furry since Mario Bros. 3 because of the Tanuki suit, so turning into animals isn't really that weird. For some reason, Toads have found a new way to have fun, turning themselves into a ball to shoot themselves against a target, and that's it. Then Peach wants to do it too, since I guess she thinks it looks like a lot of fun, but these mean Goombas without hands somehow turn the cannon to Bowser's castle instead, so she gets shot there, and now it's up to Mario to also get turned into a ball to save her. The whole getting turned into a ball thing feels like a fetish to me, probably because I have seen things like this on the internet before on DeviantArt. I'm sure the developers didn't intend to make it feel like a fetish thing, but after seeing something like that once before, it's impossible to see the pureness and innocence here. Or maybe I'm just weird. But before we talk about the actual game, did you know that the Mario rapping gif is from the Japanese commercial for this game? I didn't know before I looked it up. France also got the same commercial, but we do not talk about the French here. Nobody should. So just for that commercial itself, the game was already worth it. Also, I am German, and here in Germany, we mostly call these machines flippers, or just a flipper, also flipper tisch, which translate to flipper table basically. But some people also just said pinball instead, so I always thought those two things are different versions of each other till basically now, till I finally had enough curiosity to Google it if there's any difference between flippers and pinballs, and basically just the way we Germans call these machines. But there's another story here like this, which fits since it revolves around Mario. As a kid, you obviously didn't know about game genres, right? Obviously something like FIFA was a sports game. But what kind of game was Mario? When I finally bought a video game magazine, I finally learned what kind of genre Mario is, and it's a jumping one. Simple, right? You run and you jump. That's exactly what you do in Mario. Fits so perfectly. But no, every other country calls them platformers, and it makes no sense. When you jump and run in real life on platforms, you don't suddenly say, "Look at me, mate, I'm platforming." You say you jumped and ran. For many years, I thought this was an official genre name, not just for us Germans. And since it was also in English, it felt even more weird, like action adventures. Germans don't call those Aktionsabenteuer, but just use the English name since it sounds cooler. When I started talking to English-speaking people though on the internet, I always got made fun of for saying jumpin' one, and it still happens nowadays. It's not fair, but I made a whole video about this topic and I will link it in the top right corner if I find out how to do that, since I have never done that before. If there's no link, I either forgot it or I was too dumb to find out how to link it. So let's all just hope I can finally do something smart if you're interested in hearing why jumpin' one is the perfect genre name for platformers. Another thing I always wondered about is why people play pinball games on a console. Obviously, it's cheaper in the long run because you just have to buy the game once and you get so many different machines, challenges, etc. in comparison to always having to put money into the machine again for extra balls. I love balls. It's also way cheaper than buying your own pinball machines because I'm pretty sure those are extremely expensive if you want the good ones. But then I realized it. When you play a pinball video game, you press buttons. And what do you do in real life when playing pinball games? Exactly, you also basically just push buttons. I'm not exactly sure where I'm going with this, so let's continue with the actual game finally. On first glance, it's just a normal pinball game, but what makes the game so special is that it's not exactly a real pinball game. Nintendo already had other pinball games like Pokemon Pinball or Kirby's Pinball Land, which had some cool extra things happening, but in the end they were more like actual pinball machines. Also, it's impossible to mention Kirby's Pinball Land without mentioning the story. Playing Kirby's Pinball Land on my Game Boy. Need to go to brush my teeth. I brush my teeth in a bathroom attached to my parents' bedroom. Parents were already in bed. I open the door with Game Boy in hand. See my mom's ass up in the air as she bends over with her face and warm my dad's dick. Anon, get out! Kirby music still playing. None of you will ever know my pain. Imagine seeing your mom give your dad a blowjob while this music plays. Seriously, listen to that shit. And even after this game, there still was Metroid Pinball, developed by the same people as this one, who apparently had their development studio in an old brewery somewhere in Britain. No, everything just makes sense to me. The game is like multiple pinball stages after each other, and you only truly die when you fall between the flippers in the first area. But a part of you will die every time you fall down to an earlier area when you're trying to get some stars, because this game will frustrate you to death. To beat the game, you need to get 4 keys and 15 stars, and you get the keys by defeating the bosses, and the stars by doing simple things like hitting all enemies on the screen. Like here at the start, I just gotta hit 3 Goombas and kill them with Ball Mario. Done. I get the star for it and boom, I can now go through the door with the big 1 on it since I got 1 star. Yay. But for hitting that door, oh lordy, the worst thing about it is that I do not fully know if I just really suck or if it's just pretty hard to hit things. I think it's a mix of both. Obviously, the longer you play the game, the better you become at it, and also start to learn how important the pipe in the middle is. The little pipe in between the flippers always stays there for a little bit before going away and leaving you alone with this misery. With the pipe, it's almost impossible to lose the ball when you got your flippers down. No escape for the ball, so you let the ball settle down before trying to slowly get it onto the flipper you want, depending on what you want to hit. A door on the left, easier to reach with a shot from the right flipper. A door on the right, easier to reach it with a shot from the left flipper. A walking enemy, just shoot it and hope for the best. Despite figuring out how the game wants to be played, it still feels a bit lucky to really get what you want. But I guess that's how it is also for real pinball, unless you're a total pro. So, one of the worst things about the game are the doors, because you can't have all of them open. So you can spend your whole time opening one door just to hit the other door accidentally, and since there's only 2 doors on this screen, for example, it just closes both of them again. And sometimes there's just so many things on the screen trying to block your path, and enemies just respawn again after 5 seconds if you kill them all. You think you got the perfect shot to get through the door? Think again, that Goomba just walked right into your balls, and hopefully you do like cock and ball torch, otherwise it will hurt. So now you're gonna try hitting the door for another minute. It gets tiring because there's tons of these situations. It's not that bad when you're on a screen with just a few simple enemies and no other way to go. No way forward or into some kind of opening. The only way to lose the ball is to just flushing it through the flippers. Only got yourself to blame for that. But having to kill enemies on timer or with doors and other openings everywhere, please give me strength, Lord. Those screens are just so tilting, or this part where these snakes from Mario Bros 2 spawn and walk towards the hole, and it's basically just total luck if I can perfectly hit them or not when they walk into this kind of angles that are really hard to hit. Also, when you actually finish the quest for a star and then leave the screen accidentally, you have to do it all again. Or maybe you just got really unlucky here and the star first has to finish its animation and then it stays on the screen. Because when I have beaten a boss before and the key spawned, it stayed. This was such a tilting moment though, because I finally beat the Stumpfish, and then not getting a key made my mind go insane, and it instantly told me, yep, you gotta do this again, have fun you idiot. But when I returned, the key was still there. It was one of the happiest moments I ever had in gaming. While we are already on the topic of bosses, they are pretty okay. I just feel a bit bad for Petey Piranha, he's just so easy. At least he gets to be in his little windmill tower, just like in Sunshine. What a nice little nod to him. Then we got a big Cheep Cheep, and I kinda wish they would have at least recolored him. He's just a big red Cheep Cheep, just like the other Cheep Cheeps. And you're gonna hit the lids on the left or right to make a bomb on spawn to hit him with, and then hit him with Mario. Then we got a big Egyptian Koopa, which was fun but really annoying. He shoots magic out of his pillars that turn you small, but also if you hit the pillars yourself, you turn huge and have to hit him then. This one felt a bit weird because I have no idea how his hitbox works. Sometimes when he's floating you can't hit him, so I thought, okay, I'm gotta wait till he's on the ground and then hit him with Big Mario. And it was pretty hard because of the magic ball following you most of the time and him only staying on the ground for a little bit. But in the end, when I beat him, I literally hit him while he was up in the air 3 times, and I didn't know what's right or wrong anymore, because all the other times I hit him in the air, it didn't count. So I thought you can't hit him there, but then it actually does count. Like I said, the hitbox is a little bit weird. And at last we got Big Boo, and the hardest thing about him is getting 10 stars to unlock his door. When you fight against him, he just kinda makes Mario really spinny and goes invisible when the ball gets close to him, so you gotta time Mario coming back and all that stuff, but to be honest, you can just keep trying to hit him, and eventually it will just hit him. So just don't let Mario fall down. As easy as PD kinda, sadly, and I'm normally a big Boo fan. I just love these tiny or big ghosts. They're adorable. The only cool thing about this fight is getting to ride the roller coaster to arrive in his room. An actual roller coaster stage would have been fun though. I'm sure they could have done something cool with a concept like that. But before we come to the end of the game, it's minigame time. There's also 3 minigames, and they're the only way to spend your blue coins that you can collect. You can also collect normal coins that you can then exchange for items at the various toads in the world with the little circus tent, and I'm not talking about that kind of tent. Actually, I am talking about that kind of tent. And you know, these items just do the usual thing. Mushroom makes Mario bigger, the lightning makes all enemies die, star makes, you know, roll over the enemies easier. But they are pretty simple, just like the minigames. But somehow they are hard as heck, and you just feel like they're based on luck. In this one, you're gonna defeat 30 bullet bills in 30 seconds, and you always get extra balls because otherwise it would be impossible, but it just gets so hectic that you get overwhelmed and just flipper the flip out of the flippers. And Mario somehow also gains extreme speeds that break the game whenever he hits a bullet bill. What in God's name happened here? He got so fast, he just slammed through the wall. Thanks Mario, wasted 2 coins for nothing. Then there's also a minigame where you gotta hit the chain jumps a couple of times to make them hit the switch for them to die. Poor little chain jumps. And another one where you gotta hit the switch to turn bombs and then blow them up. And these minigames are just way harder than they look like. It's just pure chaos, and losing your extra boards fairly quickly makes them pretty much impossible to complete. And now here's your little minigame, since I'm gonna ask you the $1 billion question. Who is the final boss of the game? It surely can't be Bowser, right? But yeah, it's Bowser. Sadly, I do not have $1 billion, so I can't pay you for correctly guessing it. Sorry. I totally would if I had the money though. At the point where I reached 15 stars, because you need an amount of stars plus the keys, I was already pretty checked out and just wanted the game to be over with, and I did not beat Bowser. I tried for like an hour, and it's not truly hard either, but I just couldn't take it anymore. I just wanted it to end. He seems pretty simple. Just make the ball go in a circle to make the thrombs go up, press the button to let them fall, and you only need one of them, and then Bowser just pops up into the air and you gotta hit him quickly with Mario. And basically it's simple, but I just couldn't do it. I didn't want to continue anymore. I saw everything I needed to see, and at that point I was just like, I don't need to beat the game. So you know what, I do not care. Call me the one guy who got filtered by Mario Pinball. I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one who got filtered. What is the point of doing something that isn't fun anymore? Or was never fun to begin with, maybe even? I actually had fun with the game. In other games, I don't mind trying a boss for hours, or over 100 twice. It gives you a really satisfying feeling when you finally beat it. Like beating Ishin in Sekiro after getting so sweaty that one move would make your controller slip out of your hands and wanted to scream so loudly that your neighbors thought someone is getting murdered. But I would have had none of that emotion here. I would have just sat in front of my PC and thought, what did I do this for? Why didn't I use this time to actually do something productive, like trying to fix my life for the better? Instead I just flippered Mario around, who got turned into a ball because of some ball making machine that Toads invented at 2 AM in the morning, while sweating like an anime girl that just confessed to her crush, who was too busy doing other things than listening to her, so he will just respond with a simple, what did you say? And he will have another 300 chapters before they even have their first kiss. I hate summer sometimes, but I hate romance manga that go nowhere for too many chapters even more. But not as much as this game, even though it's love-hate. I can even call it a bad game because it's not bad, but just frustrating as heck sometimes. I was even stupid enough to somehow think the game has a Dark Souls 2 situation. In Dark Souls 2, there's a boss where if you do something before fighting the boss, it makes the boss easier, and you also fight that boss in a tower like this, and have doors to the left and the right. So my brain thought, wow, what if I get some extra stars and open the doors up to the sides of the Bowser Tower, and they make it easier since maybe the thrombs are connected to those parts of the castle. For some reason I really thought the developers of a Mario Pinball game would do something like this. But no, it's just more normal stages. At least it's nice that you don't need every star in the game to beat it. That's one of the nicest things I can say about the game. Together with the pretty nice presentation, and overall it's an experience that everyone should experience, surely. Please play it for like an hour and then just stop if you don't like it, but maybe you will get totally hooked on it, or maybe you will also just get close to a breakdown. One of the evilest things that this game is doing though is that I looked up the ending, and apparently there's 2 endings. When you just beat the game normally without getting all the stars at the end, Mario and Peach drive off into the distance with a "the end" question mark. But if you beat the game with all these stars, the only difference is that you get the end without the question mark. That's it. Imagine thinking the game has some other amazing ending or something because of the teasing question mark, so you go through all the trouble of getting every single star for basically zero payoff. Reminds me of the time when I beat Vanserchan with 100% and all I got was the picture of every character telling me to have a nice vacation. In general, it doesn't quite feel like Nintendo wants you to actually 100% their games. But you know what you just did? You 100%ed the video since it's the end. With an exclamation mark. Thank you for watching it, and don't forget to give the video a like and subscribe to the channel, blah blah, the usual stuff. Have yourself a good one and keep voting on. In better voting games, like the Katamari Damacy games. Play those. With the recent remasters, you have no excuse anymore not to play them. So excuse me when I go play some 3D Pinball Space Cadet on my Windows XP virtual machine now.